How do you overcome any addiction? Now, you may have something that's your crutch: coffee, pornography, weed, smoking, cigarettes, food addiction, even. Whatever it is your crutch. You may have tried to quit it in the past, but you find yourself relapsing over and over again. Well, here's the final solution for you to overcome your addiction once and for all. Tap in. Enjoy.
My lady in the corner, she foreign. Wake up in the morning, margarita calling. I answer and I'm speaking. I save all of my tweaking for the weekend. The city is my paradise and I might never.
Alright, welcome back to the channel. What's good? Wagwan, gang. I appreciate you for clicking on my face. I'm grateful. My channel is what this channel is all about is providing the daily dose of edutainment. My goal is to entertain and to educate you on a variety of subjects, whether that be social commentary on things that are happening in the news and just give you my perspective on it, through comedy reaction videos, and then where I give my commentary as well, to skincare and health, stuff like that. My goal is to make every single video that you watch entertaining, but also knowledgeable, so that these videos are somewhat life-changing. So definitely dab on that subscribe button. Hit them folks on that like button. Millie rock. I appreciate you. So I partnered with the members of a Truth of Addiction organization, company, and this is like a mini series that I want to talk about with regards to addiction. So many of us struggle with it. I struggled with it in the past with regards to porn addiction, and just want to dedicate a series of videos to addiction and overcoming it, and preventing yourself from relapsing to it, right? Because addiction is not just simple wake up one morning and I quit whatever I was using before. It's not just as simple. To some people it might be, because they have that neural pathway or neural ability, but other people, many people, you can't just wake up one morning and boom, I'm not smoking cigarettes anymore, I'm not addicted to pornography anymore. It's not simple as that per se. So here's a video that walks you through why it's so hard to quit, but I'm all about solutions. You're not focusing on the problem, you're focusing on the solution. So here's the solution for y'all.
If you or anyone you love has problems with drugs, alcohol, smoking, pornography, or even snack food and sweets, you're in the right place. It really doesn't matter what the addiction is, because what I'm about to show you applies to all addiction problems. There are hidden methods that are proven to be the most effective ways to beat addiction, and they are backed by scientific evidence, data, and research. Okay, so before we get started, there are 3 crucial things you need to know. First, you need to know that addiction is misunderstood and mistreated. Research shows that some of the most common recovery programs have less than a 25% success rate. Some of those luxurious and high-end rehabs show a 0% success. This is a major problem. Secondly, you need to know that most successful methods that are backed by tons of research are often the least known. They are methods that anyone and everyone can do. Thirdly, you need to know that it is possible to rewire the brain out of destructive habit loops or habitual patterns. Okay, so you probably know what it feels like to get those intrusive cravings. You may be just getting off work and you feel that you need to go have that drink or that you need to have that smoke. It doesn't matter what the addiction is. These intrusive cravings may come into your mind and make you feel like you need to do something about them right away. But these cravings are really just false messages that have been strengthened over and over again. Now, before I go any further, you need to realize that these thoughts to use and those cravings you experience aren't you. These cravings you experience are sent from the brain, regardless of your desire to stop it. So right now, stop thinking that you're weak-willed or morally wrong. If you have intrusive thoughts that enter your mind, it simply isn't true. Take it from me, when I realized that these unhealthy urges and cravings that bogged down my mind, that were out of my control, weren't a part of me and who I was, well, that was the best day of my life. I stopped self-identifying with them, and that's when I gained freedom from them. You see, most people, when they feel these intense cravings, like they need to take a drink or a smoke, they either give in or try to suppress it. Research shows that suppressing or fighting these urges and impulses actually feeds them. And this is what 90% of people do. The real trick to beating addiction is to separate yourself from it. Do not identify with it. and realize that you are not your brain. And your brain that sends you false messages is not you. Okay, so you might be wondering, where am I getting this crucial information? Let me tell you about A. Scott Roberts, who has a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling. He has worked in a clinical setting and has directed delayed discounting research at a major university. He's also a certified rehabilitation counselor. He's authored books that have sold worldwide. He speaks to audiences about addiction and mental health, and he has an interesting story. When he was a graduate student, he was doing research on addiction recovery programs and methods and made an incredible discovery. He found that study after study showed that the most common type of recovery programs, including those studied in luxurious and high-end rehab facilities, were the least effective. Many of these so-called recovery programs that were using conventional methods were showing very little success, if any at all, while other lesser-known techniques were producing incredible results. Now, A. Scott Roberts teaches these same successful techniques and has helped people in several countries to overcome their addiction long-term. Okay, so let's get right into what you need to know. You've probably heard some crazy things, such as people with addiction are weak-willed, or that they have terrible genetics, or that once you have an addiction, you'll never be able to get rid of it. You may have also heard that everyone relapses, and if you do, you have to start all over again at square one. You may have also been told that all you need to do is complete some steps and then graduate from a program. You may hope that when you do, you'll be cured. However, research and evidence goes against many of these common practices, and these types of methods can actually hold you back from breaking free from addiction forever. This is a major reason why many rehabs also have the highest recidivism rates, relapse after relapse, and failure after repeated failure, because the source of the addiction is not addressed nor understood. These low success rates are recognized on a national level. Some people in and out of rehab nearly 20 times. That says something about conventional methods of addiction treatment. Now I'll get to the solution I promised you. This method I speak of has been used to decrease problem behavior, diminish intrusive thoughts and cravings, and research shows it actually changes the brain. One researcher noticed that it quickly improved behavior and decision making. But I have to tell you that these methods are not advertised. It would put all those expensive and high-end rehabs out of business because you can't make money off of it. It's something anyone and everyone can do and have access to. What I speak of is part of a mindfulness cognitive therapy technique. Techniques specifically designed to train the brain and rewire the brain out of destructive habits. This has been supported by research over and over again. One method uses what's called the non-reactivity principle. You see, most people, when they have a craving to use or an intrusive thought to use pops into their mind, they'll try to suppress it or fight it. As mentioned before, suppressing and fighting cravings, thoughts, and urges actually strengthens them because it comes from a part of the brain that is subconscious and very powerful. And when people experience these cravings, they think that they are a bad person or that they are weak-willed. This isn't true at all. And this type of thinking makes matters worse. What you can't control is not you, and you can separate yourself from it. The non-reactivity principle teaches us to just observe these cravings as you have them. Just acknowledge them. And if you do it properly, what you will find is that they will leave quickly. They will lessen in intensity, and you will find that you have a greater cognitive control. In a sense, using certain cognitive techniques that are also backed by science can give you a third-person perspective where you can just observe and not act. Instead of reacting aggressively to these cravings or trying to suppress them or fight them or get them out of your head, you allow them to pass by, simply acknowledging them. Observe them naturally, increase and diminish in intensity, and then refocusing your attention. Separating yourself from them and being okay with existing with them makes them leave quickly, and soon they don't bother you. These and similar methods have not only helped thousands of people worldwide, but are heavily supported by research. And what's better is the effects of using these techniques long term. Once you start using these techniques, the easier it becomes because your brain starts to gain greater cognitive control over unhealthy thoughts and urges. Keeping unhealthy thoughts, cravings, and urges out of your mind becomes easier and easier to do because your brain is changing. But how does this happen, you might be wondering? You see, scientists refer to the brain as a team of rivals because the brain is a multiple structured system in which different structures fight against each other for dominance. In order for the brain to operate properly, it must be in balance. To put this into perspective, there are essentially two parts to the brain, the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. The prefrontal cortex is a higher functioning part of the brain, which is rational and logical, and it understands consequences. But the limbic system is a primitive brain. It has no ability to delay gratification. It is pleasure-oriented and selfish. It's concerned with seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. This limbic system is also called the reward system because it's responsible for making us feel better by releasing feel-good chemicals in the brain. Drugs, alcohol, sex, pornography, even eating activate this ancient reward system in the brain. And from an evolutionary standpoint, researchers have found that this reward system goes back to the simplest of life forms, nearly 600 million years before rational thought was upon this earth. This reward system was found in anthropoids, invertebrate phyla, and mollusks. This is because this limbic system was very necessary for survival. Our ancient ancestors were able to survive because they were rewarded through engaging in behaviors such as eating and sex. But today, our brains aren't designed to deal with such ready access to rewards. Drugs, pornography, and other addictions overstimulate the brain's reward system. Addiction, whatever it might be, becomes hardwired in a survival process. It has become a part of life just as eating or sleeping. But using research-backed techniques have been shown to change the brain, and in the same sense, rewire the brain. The Truth of Addiction program includes a video explaining this process step by step. You see, the brain is extremely malleable. It can be changed, formed, remapped, and rewired. One researcher, Kathleen DeMaisons, PhD, documented the results of integrating key nutrients in the diet of addicted individuals during their recovery. It resulted in a whopping 92% success rate. That's huge compared to just using the basic 12-step program. Not only that, but people that use certain nutrients in their diet were able to recover more quickly, had fewer withdrawal symptoms, and managed their addiction long term.
Alright, so I hope that video was mad informative, mad helpful for y'all, and just gave you more insight into the inner workings of your brain and why, it might be more difficult to quit when you want to quit, right? The Truth of Addiction program, it will help you, facilitate you to take action upon the information. Because, a free video is cool and all, and I'm all about giving value, providing content that's life-changing. But sometimes when you just watch a free video and there's no set structure in place, you kind of fall off and you don't take it seriously. I mean, let's say, for example, if you pay for school out of your own pocket, it's almost impossible for you to want to skip class compared to if you got a loan or someone was paying for you, right? Or your parents are paying for you. It's completely different if you paid for school yourself and you skipped a class or you didn't go to class. Because you feel it. It's coming out of your own pocket. But if somebody paid for you or you got a loan, you have to pay that person back, or someone paid for you. But it's not the same as it coming out of your own bank account, right? So I just wanted to provide you with an option for what you can do to actually take action upon the information given to you. So if you want to take action, click the link in the description down below and start the process to get your life back to back and create a more healthy and fulfilling life that isn't dependent on those things. Those things aren't bad. Porn isn't necessarily bad. Weed isn't necessarily bad. But it's the abuse of all these substances typically that makes it bad and creates harmful impacts in your body. For everything in this world, there's a point of diminishing returns, right? There's a point at which the more of it that you use, the less benefit you get from it. If you're constantly eating, if you eat 24/7, food is good, it helps you, but if you're eating 24/7, you become fat. If you're watching pornography 24/7, you start having issues getting hard, you start having issues performing in bed, right? So those are the things. So click the description down below and take the next steps to get back control over your life rather than having some substance control you. Alright, so God bless, much love, peace, and joy. Namaste, and I'll see y'all on the other side pretty much. And always remember, my motto is, if it doesn't feed you, don't water it. If it doesn't nurture you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or financially, do not water that shit. And always remember, keep that same energy, be real, be authentic, don't be fake. Alright fam, deuces.